And he writes here in chapter 22, verses 31 to 32, but as touching the resurrection, you see, now here we're going to be seeing Mashiach talking about the resurrection. This is no longer just Paul, and he doesn't use the word harpazo here. He uses the word Anastasis. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have ye not read which was spoken unto you by Elohim? Now, this is where the Mashiach is arguing with the Pharisees. And this particular passage is going to absolutely shock them. He says, Elohim said, it's written by Elohim saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Yaakov. Elohim is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living. This particular line brings great comfort to my heart. You know, I read this passage at my father's funeral, and this is an extremely important point, because what he's telling us is that we see these patriarchs as having died or gone to sleep, and that was it. Gone down into the pit, and that was it. Gone down to Sheol, that was it. But what Mashiach is telling us here is, Yah is not the God of the dead. He is the God of the living. And so the souls continue to remain. The souls continue to remain with really eternal life. Now, how is it that Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, having never known Mashiach, would still be living? How is it that the book of Hebrews tells us that these are still the living? And it says that they are still the living and remain the living because they believe. Because they believe, they are among the living. And it's such an important point. I mean, sometimes we take this for granted as a people, because we sit around saying to ourselves, well, does God really exist? How can I know? Is there proof? Can I see him? Like Thomas, until I touch him, I'm not going to believe a thing. But the truth is we can know, but ultimately there is a leap of faith. No matter how far you get into, how much research you do, at some level, you have to make a leap of faith to believe. And if you believe there is a creator, if the evidence is overwhelming to you, such that you look and you say, this is obvious evidence of a creator, and all of the other things that you see substantiating that, once you believe there is a creator, this is the beginning. This is the birth of the soul. This is when the nefesh becomes a ruach. And when it becomes a ruach, that's the foundation. But how do you feed that soul? How do you feed that soul to cause that soul to grow? Well, the next thing you need to know is his name. And once you learn the name of the creator, and, all cultures have known for years. I mean, Hawaii is Yahuwah backwards, right? And when they say aloha, they're saying Eloah, which of course is found in the Hebrew scriptures as, the feminine form of Elohim, Eloah, but they say aloha. Same word. So you have this godly recognition in Hawaii. The state of Iowa, Yahweh is the name of Yahweh as pronounced by the Hopi Indians, right? So all cultures have known the name. They've known the name from the very beginning. And there are those who say, well, you don't dare pronounce it. We're putting a fence around you saying you cannot pronounce it. That is closing the doors of heaven to you. That's closing the doors of heaven. Mashiach said in John 17, verse 26, I have declared your name unto them and will declare it, that the love of you that is in me might be in them and I in them. David said in Psalm 22:22, I have declared your name among the assembly. Moses said in Devarim 32:1, I will publish your name. So you see that this idea of saying the name brings the soul out of just mere ruach, which is not mere anything. When you come to understand there is a creator and you accept that you're a created being, you take on a ruach, you take on his spirit. His spirit now begins to feed your soul. Then you will come to understand the name. Your spirit becomes neshama, neshama, that is to say, of the name. And when you come to understand that there is, in fact, life, when you know the Father and the Son whom he sent, your soul becomes chaya, that is to say, a soul that has eternal life. And finally, in the knowledge of him and in the perfection of your walk, you achieve yachad, which is oneness with Yah. And so these are the conditions of the soul. But you see here that Mashiach is telling us that this Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov, that he is the Elohim of the living, not of the dead. So these brethren who did not know Mashiach, nonetheless continue to be alive. Why? Because they look to the expectation of Mashiach, and more importantly, they have an understanding of who their creator is, believe in that creator, and when that creator spoke to them, they did what he asked them to do.